Hi everybody, welcome to Hive Reads. Today I'm going to share a stack of books with you, and what they have in common is that they all have disabled characters, and for the most part, or as far as I could tell, disabled authors as well. So when I share books about marginalized identities or identities that we don't always get to see on the page, I try to make them own voices, which just means that if the character uses a wheelchair, the author also uses a wheelchair. If the character is autistic, the author is also autistic. So you are getting a more accurate representation of that character. Of course, disabilities are as diverse as humans. So maybe you're reading about an autistic character and you yourself are autistic and you don't relate to them at all. That's because this is one author's perspective and one character's experience. It may not reflect your own experience. At the same time, it is important that these characters are represented in fiction, both for disabled teens and for non-disabled teens to see. You should be able to see people who are like you. You should be able to see people who are not like you in any aspect, not even just talking about disability. I guess my point there is that this is a very small example of some of the disability fiction in teen literature. There are definitely more books than this, but there are not enough books. We always need more representation of all sorts of aspects of our identities. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's start talking about the books. Up first, we have Unbroken, 13 stories starring disabled teens. This is a short story collection edited by Marieke Nijcamp, and it does feature 13 different authors. This is an own voices collection, so the teens, the main characters, and the authors share disabilities. Some are realistic, some are science fiction, some are fantasy. The stories can be sad, they can be funny, but none of the characters are stereotypical. I am actually going to be reading one of the stories featured here later this month on this channel, so stay tuned for that. This is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is a fantasy and first in a series. It is a teen criminal heist fantasy. So Kaz is the leader of his crew, and he walks with a cane and uses gloves due to chronic pain and PTSD. But he destroys his rivals so thoroughly, he's known as Dirty Hands. He assembles a team of friends and other criminals to help him rescue a kidnapped scientist. He was kidnapped by some powerful and magical leaders for the sum of $30 million. What could go wrong? This is told from various perspectives of the heist crew. Again, it is the beginning of a series, and it does tie in to another series that Bardugo wrote, the Grisha trilogy, set in the same world as another series. The Oracle Code by Marieke Nijcamp is a DC Universe graphic novel featuring Barbara Gordon. So it is Barbara Gordon's origin story. It is also a haunting mystery. So the premise of the book is that patients may or may not be going missing from the Arkham Center for Independence. Either that or Barb is still working through the trauma that paralyzed her. So this graphic novel is colorful, yet dark, and as I said, haunting, and it is fast-paced as a graphic novel. We'll just show you some of the artwork there. You can see the style. So set up like a DC comic, but again, it is a standalone graphic novel. Your Welcome Universe by Whitney, Gardner. Julia has grown up surrounded by deaf culture. She's deaf along with both of her moms and her best friend Jordan, and she attends a deaf school. Then she uses graffiti to cover a slur about Jordan, and she's expelled, meaning she has to attend a hearing school and deal with bullying classmates and patronizing adults. So in this book, it features images and some ASL. So let's see. Since Julia is an artist, so it features some of her graffiti art. And then you can see there some ASL and different ways it plays with the text to kind of get the reader into Julia's perspective as a deaf character. I Have No Secrets by Penny Joelson. 16-year-old Gemma has cerebral palsy and is nonverbal as well as unable to move on her own, but her brain works just fine. So when someone close to her admits to murder, assuming she'll never be able to tell anyone anyways, she hopes a new technology might help her reveal the murderer before they silence her for good. This is a crime novel, and it is from Gemma's point of view. So we get her thought process, and she is the one who owns the story, and we can kind of see how she observes the events around her. Even though she's unable to verbalize them, she still obviously has ways to communicate. Our last featured novel is a science fiction novel called On the Edge of Gone by Corrinne Duyvis. And in this one, the apocalypse is on its way as a comet headed towards Earth. The rich and powerful are able to pay for underground shelters or passage on a rocket headed to space, but 16-year-old Denise is not rich or powerful. She is biracial, autistic, and trying to save herself, her drug-addicted mother, and her sister from both death and being deemed useless by a world that values wealth over humanity. This story is from Denise's point of view. So again, we get her thoughts, and this is her story to tell about how she saves herself and her family from the end of the world. There you have it. A bunch of new books to add to your to-be-read list. We've got short stories and fantasy and sci-fi and crime and fiction. So hopefully there's something in there that sparks your interest. If you are interested in something else, feel free to chat us or use the library takeout forum on our website. Let us know what you're into and we can hand select some books for you. All right, thanks for listening and happy reading. Bye.